Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course with me, well,
Yes,
yes, there we go.
There you go.
Yay! Sorry guys,
Woo.
multiple directions tonight. It's been one of those nights. Oh, hello Shannon, hello Brenda, how are you? Things are
Hi Shannon, hi Brenda, hi Emily.
Make this public statement. This lovely freaking Mercury in retrograde needs to fucking stop right now because I've had it. I want off this fucking train.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the middle of Mercury in retrograde, I bought one computer, turned around and got the one I wanted ordered. It came in that wasn't supposed to be here for 6 months. So then, yeah, I'm running around with my head cut off.
Basically.
Yes.
But otherwise, we're doing well.
Yes, we are. We are doing well. Things are getting very, very comfortable, and we're going to get into a better stride tomorrow. But tonight, we've got a special guest on. Melissa Alford will be on. Some of y'all guys may recognize her in a different capacity, but we'll be talking about some stuff going on that was brought to my attention in the pagan community. And then I went a little bit farther and went, we need to talk about this shit. So what's been making your news feed, though, Joe, before we hop in?
Oh, my goodness. I was supposed to have a news feed? What?
You know they're supposed to have a news feed. We've been doing this for 2 years.
I know, but come on. Well, so the biggest one I've got, the biggest one. So apparently, McDonald's just launched an AI-driven drive-through, as in you get basically a her. Those of you who have devices, that sort of driven experience, except it's not quite as polished. It's been described as creepy. It only gets your order right 85% of the time. And
it's probably better than our local.
You know? Well, that's true. 85% would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
We would probably kill for 85%, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I'd kill for 82% of the time.
Well, 82%. That could work. That could work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I believe this is at like a dozen stores they're trying this one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an article from ZDNet. But yeah, it's apparently not what anyone expected.
Right.
It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Meanwhile, they've already been sued over it.
Right.
Because what McDonald's is doing with the system
Mm-hmm.
is they are recording voice prints with the twofold purpose. One, to get better. Two, to learn customers.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of with the intent of creating a, so to speak, your usual kind of experience, or tailor, different promotions towards different customers. Well, one of the states they tried this in was Illinois, which is a two-party consent state.
Oh.
But they didn't inform customers what was going to go on.
Lovely.
So they're getting sued for that.
Well, as it should.
Yeah. So not only is it a creepy system, but it's a creepy system that records your voice and keeps it. And they didn't think it through well enough to figure out what states they could pull that stunt in or not.
Right.
It's fun.
Oh, I bet it is.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's my big tech article. Outside of that, I would point out we did have our first drawing for the Do It for Baby Dog lottery in West Virginia. The vaccination lottery, for those of you not familiar with this god-awful idea, including, $1 million, trucks, hunting licenses, fishing licenses, and guns. Because,
yeah. And this is what I do not understand. One, why we need a lottery for this? We didn't have a lottery for the polio epidemic.
Well, the idea has been to try to persuade people a different way. I still think it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't want anyone to misunderstand me. I think it's ridiculous. It's just, yeah. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a ridiculous idea. I hate that they're using, Now, granted, there's some other prizes that, okay, fine, whatever. Even the hunting licenses, the fishing licenses, I'm cool with that.
Right.
The guns thing, that one, no.
No.
Like, no. 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 Granted, we based all this around Do It for Baby Dog. That's our slogan.
How about do it for your grandmother? Do it for your friend. Do it for your life.
Well, technically, that's
slogans to get out there.
Well, technically, that's part of the whole slogan. That was the whole concept. Was if you won't do it for yourself, you won't do it for others. Do it for Baby Dog. Like that was the whole concept.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I don't know.
No.
It's just So, but here we are.
Yes, here we are. Here's the crap. Welcome to West Virginia. Insanity by the Fleet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to end up being interesting.
It is. All right, so I'm going to have you switch seats, and I'll bring our guest on.
Awesome. I'll pop right out.
All right, guys. So our guest has been a close friend of mine, and she's, a good psychic. She works on Keen. She recently joined the Keen family. A lot of my friends are joining the Keen family. And we're going to bring her on. And she's not Joe, but she'll be okay. Yeah. Hello, darlings. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Oh, halfway evil, as always. So Wild Hunt came out with some news articles, and it kind of got me questioning, what the hell are we doing as a spiritual community? Well, it first got me questioning, what the hell are we doing as a pagan community?
And
let's dig a little deeper, because it's not just us pagans. It's the whole spiritual community in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about is the question becomes, what do we do as a spiritual community when we support companies that import their stuff from areas where witches are still being hunted? So I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably heard of the fact that there are still witch hunts that occur in Africa and India, a lot of the mineral-rich regions. We're also talking about like exploited cultures, and not just talking about the assault on our planet, but
this is the assault on human life. This was, the article that got my attention was in Audition, a father and son duo beaten to death over suspicions of practicing witchcraft.
Right. And that's actually the minority. And that's what's really to me, I guess, a little more disturbing because it mainly happens to elderly women, because when they die from their injuries, then similar to civil asset forfeiture here in the United States, then the ones who kill them get their stuff.
Yes.
And because widows tend to have a little bit of property, that's where the elderly women, especially in India, well, not in India, but in Ghana and some of the other countries, they get targeted because, well, if we do that, then we can take their stuff.
Well, and and I had posted this in a few groups and was trying to get a conversation started, and that's when you piped in. But another person said, I have a Google thing that's set to alert me whenever there's a new Google search for witchcraft. He sees this at least once or twice a week.
On average, the numbers that I came up with for India alone was roughly 2,500 people per year.
Yeah.
So then this goes back to, we know that like stick and cone incense, for the most part, is not manufactured in this country. Your Nag Champa, your whatever, your patchouli incense, your sandalwood incense, all of that stuff, almost all of it comes from India. And then where does our responsibility come from for that? Where do we fall in? I'm just as bad as anybody else. I adore the smell of Nag Champa, and it's really made me reconsider purchasing it like ever again, because I don't want to be part of the problem. Right. I don't want to contribute to that, because if I'm supporting this country, and there's little things that I can do to defray that, to offset it, sort of thing, then I'm going to do that. This is no different. This is no different than me as a parent of a trans child who I choose not to go to Chick-fil-A because, well, obviously with you guys as friends of mine and being a parent, this is not a company that I support. Same with like Hobby Lobby. These are choices that we can make as consumers to not support these sort of things.
You bring up a great point, though. I've never had Chick-fil-A, ever. Because one, it was on the blasphemous list when I was in Christian church, because, how dare them serve mixed meats. And then now it's... I'm
looking at the chat here. Shannon said, so it's okay to make money off of items we want, just not to one of us. And is that what the countries are saying? Kind of. I mean, that's kind of the idea of what we're getting back to here, is that a lot like the witch hunts that happened here in the United States, it's not necessarily a religious choice. It's something where, because women aren't valued in that culture, and because witchcraft is seen as something demonic and evil, therefore when they're doing this, then they're looking at us and they're like, oh, well, she's witch, kill her, beat her, rape her. And when the research that I did, victims are as young as 4, and in 2021, in April of this year, it was a 92-year-old woman. So we're talking just basically females of any age, and that's for India. In Africa, it's roughly the same. August 10th is set up for International Witch Hunt Day, which is to help raise awareness for this, by the way, August 10th. So coming up in a little bit over a month and a half.
Right.
And
so what do we do as spiritualists, as pagans, as non-pagans, as spiritually in general?
As a person who loves bright, shiny rocks, it's really made me reconsider crystal purchases.
Right. And it's like
I've been doing a whole ton of, oh my gosh, I've been doing so much research lately for what stones come from where. Are there any is this stone available here in the United States? Is there some way, is it here that I can ensure that it's harvested safely? Well, guess what I found out? I had no clue, but there's a mine that's here in, I believe it was North Carolina, that is one of the only mines in the United States for emeralds. We can literally go on a road trip and go down there and mine emeralds and sapphires and tourmaline and all. Yeah, really cool. Like, right? And then opals, instead of the indigenous people of Australia and other areas being taken advantage of there is an opal mine out in Colorado. Selenite is available. There's several different selenite mines out west, citrine, sunstone. Everybody's heard of Crater of Diamonds State Park in Arkansas. Everybody's heard of that. We also know about Herkimer diamonds from up in northern Appalachia in Pennsylvania, Herkimer County, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's called.
Right.
And stuff like that.
As far as that,
well, incense is actually easier.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Smoke is always been a path for spiritualism, but there are so many plants that grow native here. I mean, we have, all right, so let's start with easy ones. Everybody knows what mullein looks like, 6 foot tall, bright yellow stalk. That one burns great, makes a great smoke, especially for doing incense. Rose petals are in bloom right now. We can dry rose leaves. We can burn old branches off of trees. Even any dried dead leaves you could do and make bundles with. You can grow sage in your garden and do sage with that. Cedar, pine needles, all of this stuff that we can do instead of purchasing these imported things. And then really the same gets down to with all the rest of it. So August 10th is World Witch Hunt Day, that we're not very far off. We will be doing something. I'm not sure exactly what, because I'm really not positive what the best method is going to be for something that we can do here. I will be working on raising awareness for people to, maybe rethink that crystal that you wanted to buy. Find out if it's ethically sourced. Find out where it comes from naturally in the world, and whether or not that's an area that diamonds obviously become the first thing in mining. Everybody's aware of blood diamonds at this point in time. And that's a lot of these killings are happening in Ghana, and Ghana is one of the major countries in South Africa that has a lot of diamond mines in it.
Right. And, and also taking a good look at it. Because we're being taken advantage of on so many levels, guys. From dyed crystals to fake tarot cards.
Yep.
To incense that we have to pay a tax on. Like, there's an export fee, there's an import fee.
Yep.
And then you turn around and the people there cannot, get killed. That aren't even witches.
No.
One thing
they have nothing to do with our practices. Yeah. And I guess that to me is probably even more offensive, that this is being done as an economic thing against them. And they're not. By and large, they're not. They don't practice this at all. Emily said a pagan could make a great ethical business of sourcing materials from local mines and farms. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it would be amazing. And I would be perfectly happy that if I had to go and purchase a stone, the last one that I purchased, I bought from Michigan. It was a rose quartz. It's like 8 pounds. It's like the size of a football. It's an absolutely beautiful stone, but it came from Michigan, and it was mined up in Michigan. And I paid more for it than I would have paid anywhere else, but I was happy to do so because I knew where it came from.
Right. It's like Reverend B over at GGGM Radio. She has a mine in Arkansas that she sources out amethyst and different crystals there from Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas has them. There's several here on, obviously we're in the East Coast. East Coast, Tennessee, North Carolina, there's several different mines that you can go to. Arkansas is not terribly far away, just a little bit different mountain range.
And most of the times they will ship them to you.
And you can talk. There's a lot of different companies that you just need to take a few minutes and get off your Amazon, get off of Etsy, get off of eBay, and literally search for United States-based crystals. It was actually a pretty simple search once I started looking for it. I've looked locally because I was told that there was somebody here who was hobby making incense, and then come to find out that they were purchasing the oh goodness gracious, I can't think of the name. The sticks that are coming from China. So that obviously kind of killed that whole idea. Right. And most of the fragrance oils also come from there. So I really think that our best bet is to look at more indigenous plants that we have in our area or that we can grow in our gardens and use. You know, rosemary has historically since Greek times been used as a smoke type herb. It was one of the bitter herbs from Jewish tradition. We have all of that stuff that grows pretty native around here. We can add into things. I know on my property, I have tons of witch hazel, which burns very nicely.
And then, growing your own white sage, it isn't difficult.
No,
you put it in a pot. In a pot, or it will take over wherever it wants to go.
Yeah, kind of like comfrey does.
Yeah, rose leaves, rose petals.
Rose petals. Right now, native invasive rose, the multiflora roses are in bloom, and also like everywhere. I have a couple of different wild patches that I pick from and harvest, and I can get those.
Right.
I soak skewer sticks in oil. That's actually a really good idea. Rosemary can be alive as a plant or burnt to clean. Yes.
Yep.
My grandma had a live rosemary plant for years, and I had its own personality. I've seen over at Crater of Diamonds State Park in Arkansas, there used to be a restaurant, and I don't know because it's been well over a decade, almost two. They had these hedges outside the restaurant that they had there that were rosemary hedges I had never seen before coming from Wisconsin down to this area. And the trunks on these things were gigantic. They were like 6-7 inches across, and I have no idea how old they were, but they had to have been probably planted when the park was first founded. And they were beautiful plants. And you go down to other areas, like I know I've seen them in Texas. Rosemary itself in Texas is used as a landscaping plant. It's everywhere.
Well, it holds in good water and keeps memories well. But I think that, we really, Neo-Pagan really tries to bring and back the practices of the British Isles, most of it.
But they didn't have the sparkly rocks.
No, they didn't.
And it's the same thing with shells. If you're going to harvest shells or sea glass or whatever, that's something that it's best, obviously, if you can do it yourself. There's places you can go that are famous here in the United States for shells. Jupiter Beach in Florida was one of them. We harvested so many different shells from there. And just anytime you go to the beach or inland, it's just the sort of things that we want to think about.
Mm-hmm. Because yes, there is a large stock of closed practices and open practices and culture-related practices.
Well,
We
and
can back that up a page and take care of living practices, humans, while we're here.
So by not sending my money to these places and areas and supporting that kind of culture where it takes advantage of people, that's something that I can do on the daily, regular, that I feel more comfortable about, that I then don't have to worry so much that I'm basically taking advantage of someone else's potential misery.
Yep. So it's important to look where things you're buying from are coming from.
Yeah, it's a conscious decision we make every day,
Mm-hmm.
Your power comes from your paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Comes from your dollar.
Yeah.
Or your euro or whatever you're using.
Whatever
you are international.
Exactly.
All right. So you're new to the coffee shop. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing.
Oh, I don't do anything. I lay around all day eating bonbons.
Oh, I know, honey. And just attracting money out the using. But, you've joined the Keen family.
Yes. I've switched over onto Keen, so I'm a live psychic on Keen. Not tonight, but yeah.
Yep.
I'm really liking it. It's an interesting group of people. I really like the energy of all the clients. It's a really supportive structure, I guess is the best way to put it, which is really nice compared to, it reminds me a lot of, well,
say it.
30 years ago when I was on Miss Cleo.
Well, gee, who was a manager at Miss Cleo? I wouldn't have a clue. Me.
I don't know. Who could that possibly be? So that was one of the things that we had talked about a long time ago, was like all the people that we knew and had in common.
Right. And,
way back.
Happened. And one of these days, we need to sit down and do a video called Whatever Happened To, i.e. whatever happened to Virginia. She passed away a couple years ago. Poor woman was hired to be an actress. That's all she was hired to do, was do a commercial.
Yep. She was an actress, and she became the voice, for 10 years after she was done with the Psychic Network.
Yeah.
And Dionne Warwick and the Psychic Readers Network and all of those people.
Yeah. That's another mismanagement.
Mary says she remembers Miss Cleo TV ads. Yeah, call me now. And I'm not even going to try and do the accent, okay?
No, we're not doing that accent. She could barely do that accent. But what I find funny is now one of the hottest items is something we used to send out for free to customers that spent over $100 on the network.
Mm-hmm.
The deck of Miss Cleo tarot cards.
And you can still find the Miss Cleo tarot cards.
Yes.
But they are not cheap.
Mm-mm.
Because, just like any other tarot cards, I have a set, they're 1960s Toth tarot deck, Crowley's deck. And, so they're the Miss Cleo, but the Miss Cleo tarot decks are like going for around $150.
Yeah.
Seen a few of them for less than that.
Mail. We would just send it out to customers. It was PR.
Yeah. And all the memberships we used to have to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness,
Hello, Ashley. Hello, Mary. I'm sorry if I'm falling down on the hellos. Of course.
Yeah, normally, see, I'm in Joe's spot. Normally, Joe's the one who's like hitting over here and watching all the.
Yeah, but yes, we are taking questions tonight. Melissa's taking the night off. She decided to take the day of war off.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because I think this is important for people to really think about. Mm-hmm. Getting back to why I'm here. No, I really do. Every other large group of people You know, they vote and act with their dollars. And we should be no different just because we happen to be a minority religion.
For the moment, there's statistics that saying that we're on the rise.
Well, if you talk to Marty Laubach from yeah, he says our numbers are growing exponentially, way higher than what they ever predicted, and that's only of the people that publicly proclaim that yes, they are.
Right.
We're not talking about in the closet. We're not talking about people who, you know, use a little bit more fluid labels and stuff like that. And we're just talking about people that are openly pagan and openly Wiccan and openly heathen. Ashley says, my doctors are thinking surgery is on the table for me very soon. Do you see a physical or emotional or both improvement in the surgery for me?
Okay. Well, Ashley, one, you know, I have to do the 8/26/96 birthday, and also I am not a doctor. Please follow your doctor's advice. Make sure to see your doctor. But looking at it, I think that it'll be both emotionally and physically better for you. Improvement in both. It will take about 8 weeks after the surgery to start seeing the improvement. I do think that you, however, will have to follow the directions. I know it's hard. Believe me, it's hard for me. But follow the directions.
Ashley, you should start
8
feeling.
weeks.
No, she's going to start feeling like way better too soon, and she's going to push herself to do something. So make sure that if you go when you go through with the surgery, you take the time that you're supposed to take to heal. Don't push yourself, because you have a tendency to try to push yourself because you feel guilty about being incapacitated. So please be careful with that.
Very much so. All right, Mary, 11/28/57. My son stormed out and does not understand that the building we are in has incorrect lighting, electrical cables. There is a spike over a 10-month period, and it was not my AC unit. I want peace with my son. I feel that you will get peace with your son, but you two have to get together. And the problem is you're too much alike. So you're going to fight and argue with each other so much.
Ashley says, sounds about right being a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
But thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, what's in your newsfeed, Beth? Melissa?
I'll forgive you the slip. Okay. Well, obviously this stuff has been in there. And then one of the other things that's been concerning me a little bit lately is, had you heard of Budweiser? Everybody knows who Anheuser-Busch is, right?
Right.
So there's been several different things, like the event that they held last weekend at Stonewall. They had refused to serve any Anheuser-Busch products. So no Michelob, no Bud, no Bud Light, none of that stuff, because Budweiser, while they are rainbow washing instead of pink washing, they're rainbow washing their stuff for the month of June, and yet they're still donating to conservative Christian politicians who are anti-LGBTQIA policies. And that one's been popping up a lot on my feed. And of course, you and I had talked last week in regards to the whole rainbow washing thing and how it's kind of coming a lot like what they do in October with pink washing things, just so that they're making money. And the money really goes back to nobody who can actually get help. It's just a profit thing that the companies are doing.
Well, right. And, what annoys me is, one, you have companies that are making policies and decisions against the LGBT alphabet mafia, but will
happily embrace it 1 month out of the year.
1 month out of the year. Why? Because we spend our money. We have the most disposable income in the world. Of course, they're going to market to us.
Exactly. And I find that extremely offensive.
I and A and LGBTQIA. A is ally. And there's actually two A's there, or asexual.
Right, asexual and allies, and I is intersexed.
Yes, okay. I think that it's great. I think that, again, we are starting to figure out, you just want me for my wallet. You don't really want to support what we're doing. You don't want to donate to the Trevor Foundation. You don't want to take the profit that you make. And I don't know, fund the parade, fund the pride events, fund the other things, fund the, emergency housing for, youth. A lot of people they don't give a lot of credence to a lot of the work we've put in. But I'm also kind of pissed off at Pride in general right now because they're trying to what I call market box us.
Yeah. That was another thing that we had talked about too, about how it seems like depending on which area you're in, your pride may be very singular focused, and it's not necessarily as inclusive as it needs to be. There's a lot of people that are getting excluded from so-called pride events.
Market boxing is when you make it more marketable, more palatable to the general population, i.e. telling the leather community they don't belong at Pride, telling the poly community they don't belong at Pride.
Right.
When the leather community normally runs the gambit between the protesters and Pride.
Exactly.
The pup communities are the ones normally there at 4 a.m. setting up.
It's basically just making it palatable by eliminating fringe people out of it. I mean, I think I told you about this. Well, this is something for me that's a big deal, and I've been an ally for a long time. My very first job where I got a paper paycheck, and it wasn't like working for one of my family members. I worked at a restaurant that hired me as a 16-year-old pregnant mom, and it was the Two Women Cafe, and I was very embraced by the community there, and everybody was very, very supportive. It was an amazing experience, and I still think about it to this day. Who is going nuts?
Facebook is going nuts at the moment.
Okay. Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Sorry, mystic business going on as always. That Mercury retrograde and own a internet and computer repair company.
It's done. Yes, today was the last day, and then 2 more days we've got the super strawberry moon coming up, so there's some good energy happening there. Yes, I know Jupiter is in retrograde now, but that's not as an immediate technology thing, or it is an immediate communication thing. Jupiter, it has a lot of influences, but not as extreme. Jupiter retrograde bringing about good fortune. Yes, depending on who you are. The other thing too is remember that we have Saturn in retrograde, and Saturn is in retrograde from now until October 10th. So what does Saturn in retrograde mean? Well, Saturn in retrograde means that we're open to more societal changes and societal shifts as we will watch through this year. Many of you guys are already going through a lot and seeing a lot of things. This first square where Uranus and Saturn came through was when we were having the January event. The second one just came about here during this same time. And now we're also looking at the third one is in December, and that's going to be the last time that Saturn's going to square Uranus for this year. And we expect to see some of the changes that we've seen really starting to snowball, continue on. And with Saturn in retrograde, I don't know what you guys watch on the news, or if you actually watch like network news, or if you pay attention and sort through things. There's been kind of a constant barrage of bullets happening here in the United States. and it's kind of unavoidable to not notice the number of shootings that are happening.
Right. It is very hard to notice the number of shootings that are happening. It's hard to not notice that the level of reform that needs to occur. It's hard to not notice that we need sensible control.
Yeah, we do.
You know, I am for the Second Amendment, but I am for the Second Amendment in logical proximity.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling on it too. Okay, we have Liz asking.
Mythical stuff is happening at the same time the show's happening. You know, I think Mercury has began coming out of retrograde, so everything's waking up. All right, so
well, that's like if you talked to about a half a dozen people last week, you probably heard a whole lot of stories middle of last week, from the beginning of last week. So from basically Monday through Thursday of last week, a lot of vehicle issues.
Yeah,
that was kind of Mercury retrograde's last jolt at everybody.
All right, so let's talk about, because Ashley's asked this question, but I want to talk about it in general so we can explain what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Saturn, which I call the taskmaster of the zodiac.
Yes.
Like, they carry around a whip and chain and a chair. Okay, and their ground is to restrain, restrict, and routine things.
Mm-hmm.
That's their job, to keep us in order, make sure we do what's their best.
Yep.
Then we have Jupiter. Jupiter is a beneficial god. He likes everything big, expansive, and explosive.
Yep.
So Saturn in retrograde is going, no, you can't do this. This is 9 o'clock. You've got to be on air in 30 minutes. You're not allowed to do this. Jupiter is going, why don't you add another network to yourselves? Why don't you bring in 3 more talk show hosts? Put those together in bad moods, and that's what we're getting ready to go through.
Right, and let's throw those all together, and then let's see what happens, and then let's just put it into a blender with the super moon and everything else, and see what happens.
Right, and moon energy is emotions.
Yeah. So, Ashley just says that's a lot. Oh, yeah. What challenges me is to sit down to try to write about this stuff and to try to get things organized in my head. And when I'm ready to talk about things, that's where it hits me a lot.
Yep.
And like, I kind of have this constant deer in the headlights look.
Yeah, that's why conversation is great. Cup of coffee and conversation is wonderful. Video.
Well, I have my coconut water, so.
Because it is so close. And Mercury is being chained into a lot of new things. Mercury is being connected into, 100 years ago, communication, conversation, that type of thing. Well, now a lot of people with the internet use that to make and control their money. So now Mercury in retrograde is starting to affect money. It happens about 4 times a year because it spins around the sun so fast, which also means it spins around the earth so fast.
Right. It has a 90-day cycle. I think it's a 90-day cycle.
Yep.
Mary, yes, coconut water is like, if it's not Diet Dr. Pepper, which is my other addiction, it's coconut water.
I don't think it's an addiction. I think it's an empowerment, because I can't even get you to drink strong coffee. So we have to power your energy somehow.
Well, we could always have tea.
Right. And there's a lovely selection of tea in the kitchen. All you got to do is tell the assistant what you want.
Oh, staff.
Exactly.
Joe's hiding way in the background. He's like, yeah, no. He did bring me my drink, though, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, we're very hospitable. But, things that I'm wondering what will happen, because we are moving into a cosmic position of the galaxy that we have not been in almost
12 years.
Huh?
It's 12-year cycle.
I know, but I'm talking about the Milky Way itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving into I'm talking Mayan astrology. And it's saying that we're now into a different goddess energy cycle.
Yep.
With the position of the galaxy in the Milky Way of itself, we're moving closer to the center of the Milky Way. So we're back to the level of human creation. But let's kind of talk about that for a bit, because you're finally someone I can do this with.
Okay. What are we going to focus on?
We're going to focus on 2012 and while we're still here. And everyone's got books that they can now burn because they were hilarious.
What goddess Ashley says. See. Oh, do we want to get into the Pantheon discussion? First of all,
we can.
Okay, so let's get into first things first. I want to introduce myself, I guess, a little bit more. You need to understand that I am a college-educated Jungian psychologist. So, with that, so we look at the collective unconscious, and really there's only two. There's the masculine god archetype, and then there's the feminine goddess archetype. And they all kind of interconnect and they overlap in about a dozen different ways. You know, we have Sif, we have Iduna, we have Freya, then we have Athena and Helena and every different goddess, Isis and Astarte, Diana, Demeter. It's all kind of the same birth energy, that same fertility, the same creation, the same power, and it's just different aspects of the same thing. No different than the 28 faces of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And it all connects back together.
Right.
Because we just came up with different names for where we were in the planet.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's kind of like everybody may have a different name for you. You know, someone may call Mary, you know, Ma, or they may call her, you know, Mrs. Winfield, or they may call her CEO, or, you know, my favorite title for her back in the 90s was "Hey, boss lady." So, you know, and that's kind of how the different goddesses and gods work. The theory that I was talking about was a Mayan theory that the galaxy was divided into two energy fields. One is the masculine energy field, one is the feminine energy field, or god energy, goddess energy.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently we were supposed to go through the age of Aquarius, which we've been in for a while, and it would move us into goddess energy.
Right, and depending on who you're listening to, we either are in the age of Aquarius, or we're entering into the age of Aquarius, or it finally began in 2000, or it began in 2012, or it's going to begin next year in 2022.
Yeah.
It's very fluid.
It's very fluid because it's like trying to pinpoint a position, a line in space.
Yeah, it's not quite as easy as astrology.
No. Not quite as easy as astrology. Astrology is a wonderful Arabic system. So what's your thoughts on this theory?
Are we getting into more of the divine feminine?
Mm-hmm.
Energetically, I want to say yes.
Okay.
Because I really want it to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of the biggest thing. I want us to have more of the divine feminine in our life. And it would make more sense if the divine feminine were growing stronger at the same time as we're seeing the violence from so many people who are actively engaged in maintaining the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm looking at here?
I see what you're looking at. I'll follow you there.
That would be why we would have all of the violence that we're seeing, especially here in the United States,
mm-hmm.
with the attacks, with the gun, and just everything that happens.
Right.
In regards to that type of energy happening around us. Does that make sense? And that would make sense then if that were the case, then we would see the upswing in that masculine violence, because they're interested in keeping things exactly the way they are and not moving into this more squishy feminine energy where they don't have as much preeminence, as much prestige. So, yeah, not as much punch, not as much power, and then you get typical white male syndrome.
Well, and I'm just looking at society in general and all the changes we're going through.
Well, sure, because even you know, as you called them, the alphabet mafia. You know, the alphabet mafia doesn't exist before we start accepting this change, and I don't think it's going to be a particular time when it's going to happen. It's a process.
Consciousness.
Yeah, it's a process, and this year especially, there's an awful lot of people that aren't going to recognize themselves this time next year from where they were last year at this time.
Right. I think that there's going to be a lot of change.
Oh, sure. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy change for anybody. And you have to go with the flow here.
Yeah.
It says, smash the patriarchy.
Yeah, we don't want to smash the patriarchy. We want the patriarchy to be the patriarchy, meaning that admit it. Don't be doing this cloak and mirror shit. Don't be painting yourself. In June, we paint rainbows, and in October, we paint pink, and in February, we paint blue.
Right.
Say what you are. Wear the sticky notes. Be honest in your points of view.
It's like birth. If birth takes like a decade or two, sure. If that's what it takes to birth a new decade.
Right.
Neil says maybe we just a little bit we do, he says.
Right. We need to spice it. And see,
I just want to bring it back.
Understanding the balance.
I just want to bring it back in. Exactly. Bring it back into balance. Can we just get these two to kind of meet on the same level?
Right. Exactly.
We don't need one to be more or less than the other. We just need it to be even.
Right. So I want to talk about something different now.
Okay.
Because, you know, we finally got another federal holiday, June 19th. Juneteenth.
Yes.
Yes. That for those that do not understand, Juneteenth is when the actual full effect of the Emancipation Act came into order.
Right, and this has actually been a long time coming. I remember. Okay, so let me think. I was 9 or 10. The first time I had heard about Juneteenth, what it was. And that was when my mother had gotten remarried. And so I was down in Florida visiting his family and getting to know them. My cute little redhead and curls. Childhood.
Yeah. But, you know, these are important marks of history.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand the full history. You know, people think that we got freedom on the 4th of July, 1776. No, we didn't. We sent a letter to England via ship that said, fuck off.
Pretty much.
Okay? That's what happened. We sent it with Benjamin Franklin, and he was possibly going to be charged to be killed.
Right.
Okay? So, June 19th.
Right.
Juneteenth. Yes. Was, and yes, I have problems with words. We all know this. My English sucks. We can speak Russian and I'll do fine. We can speak, Slavic. I'll probably do okay. But, it gets there. was actually when the Emancipation Proclamation became in order. It's like everyone has celebrated here recently equality, and we got the right to marry, and we got this right, and we got that right. No, we don't. No, we don't.
No.
We have a law on the book that says it can happen.
Yep.
It hasn't been challenged.
Not on a federal level.
No. The states still have laws on their books against it. So you have a battling of battle.
Yeah.
This is the way laws make. It's like Roe v. Wade is up again for attack.
Which shouldn't even be in question.
Right.
There's a lot of complicated things around this, and really it comes down to patriarchy wanting to control women's bodies. Because do you really want me to get into this conversation?
Yeah. I wouldn't bring it up if I didn't want to get a shovel for you.
You know what this is going to do? This is going to end up with a rant with me, because this is...
Yes.
All right. So listen, here's the thing. All right. So patriarchy and getting into control of women's bodies. I have less rights as a cis, straight, white woman than you do, because you're still male.
Uh-huh.
I am a mother, and after my first child was born, which I've already kind of hinted at, I was very young. I wasn't even legal to drink at that time. I wanted to get fixed. Really did. Was told, nope, got to have 3 kids, got to be married, and your husband has to approve it. So then 2 years later, I got pregnant again, and I had twins. And then after they were born, I was like, hey, can I? No, because you don't have a girl. So here I am, under 21, married, 3 children, all in diapers, and still couldn't get snapped.
Uh-uh.
And why is that okay when any male who's 18 or older can go and get a vasectomy?
It
Boom.
isn't.
Same day.
It isn't. It's like the child care. It's like and we're seeing stuff like this occur right now. And here's why. It's because this child care credit to encourage birth rates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're not going to change the birth rate until we can change the economy in the way that it is, with so many kids in debt for
Right.
college degrees that they're not able to use.
Right. But control over healthcare is ridiculous in general.
Control over healthcare is ridiculous. Why isn't it a human right? And then here in the United States, why is it you can get healthcare? Okay, so you can get healthcare, and it takes care of your health, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it can exclude your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
or they can exclude your teeth. Why are your eyes and your teeth not important
Mm-hmm.
as part of your body and your healthcare? Why is that not all integrated? Why? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't remember getting these as an accessory.
I don't either. And here's the other thing that gets me is, yes, we have healthcare. We have supposed healthcare. My doctor would love to be able to put me on this med and that med and that med. Can't do it.
The insurance company won't do it because what? It costs them.
No, it's not even the insurance company.
So what is it?
It is the alcohol, firearms, and tobacco.
Pain medicine.
Yes.
So your pain medicine is regulated by the federal government because of people who've abused it in the past. So therefore, you don't have full access to pain medication to make your life better.
Right.
Doesn't seem like healthcare, does it?
No, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm diabetic, and if I have to get insulin to be able to afford it, I have to order it from Canada.
Why that too? Okay, so all right, so society has changed a little bit. I happen to have a bunch of Plan B pills at my house that were given to me through a fundraising program at Planned Parenthood. So I have a half a case of Plan B pills. I don't need them, but if I ever run into somebody who has them, I've got them. Why can we get that? But you need insulin every day. And that's not covered.
No.
Why is that? Does that? So now we have an exclusion for your eyes, an exclusion for your teeth, and apparently your fucked up pancreas is going to be excluded too.
Yeah, when it gets there.
Yeah.
We're doing everything to stop it from getting there. But no, it'll be excluded.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's like me and Joe went and got narco trained. We're at a lot of public events. We had an issue happen. It'll never happen again on our watch. But we had an issue happen. We got the opportunity. We took the training. We had to register that we have that.
How does that make sense?
Well, how does it make sense?
Why are we in, okay, so let's go deeper into this. Why are we in one of the states that right now, due to IV drug use, so meth and heroin, why do we have the county that in the United States has the highest rate of HIV transmission? Kanawha County. And they stopped the needle exchange program.
Right.
How does that
stop the PrEP dispensary?
How does this help?
Exactly.
How does this help our society? How do we take care of ourselves? Okay. Well, I'm an herbalist, and I mean, I have medicine that I can. Well, I can't do HIV, but I can treat a lot of other things with that. But it's illegal for me to do so.
Yep. Yep. Illegal for you to do so. Illegal for you to give medical advice. Illegal for me to give medical advice. That's why you hear me give that. I am not a doctor. I am not acting in a medical profession.
Yeah, I mean.
Although I've probably signed more prescriptions for doctors in my 15 years of nursing than they signed themselves.
Right. Okay. Shannon says, I'm 37, just recently found a doctor who is willing to snip me. Most doctors said, because I don't have a son, not until I'm over 40. Yeah. Absolutely. Ashley got lucky, looks like. She said she had her twins in 2019 via C-sec, and doctor was like, hey, you want us to take care of that? So, you know. Mary says your situation stinks, Aeson.
Well, our situation in America stinks. When a clergyman and his assistant are more prepped to deal with the situations in my community than my police force.
Yeah.
That another co-clergyman in another county is more able to deal with women's health concerns than the health department.
And why is it that the closest clinic that will perform surgical abortions is in another state? Now, I know there's one in Charleston, but from where I live, it's the next closest one that I know of that's still operating is in Roanoke.
Did they close the one in Lincoln?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because I know she was doing everything in her power to keep it open.
I'm not sure.
We recently in Princeton, they lost an OGBYN because she was fully educated and prepared to do what she needed to do for her patients.
Exactly.
Our healthcare is in handcuffs.
Oh, constantly.
Okay,
And that's not even talking about the approvals that, like, you can't have this procedure unless you get pre-approved through your insurance, and then your insurance pre-approves you and they enter something wrong into the billing and then they deny payment on it. I mean, we're not even talking about that kind of stuff.
Right. We're not even talking about also the waste. My doctor had to jump through 3 prescriptions before he could give me the prescription he wanted to give me. And it's not even the one he wanted to give me, it's the one that the insurance would approve. But that's after he jumps through these 3 prescriptions.
Exactly. I mean, how does this make sense? How is this? It's neither health nor care.
Right. Why is it that I have to go through 52 doctors before I get one that'll listen to me? And then, and this happened just a couple weeks ago, guys, you remember the eye infection I had? I went to my ophthalmologist. I paid him out of pocket to look at my eyes. He misdiagnosed what was going on.
Right. And so you suffered for, gosh, was almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I went through a week with him, and then I went to my GP, and I had him look at it. He is not an ophthalmologist. He took 6 weeks of eye information.
Right. And then boom, like that, he automatically knew what it was.
Yeah.
How does that work? How is it that you have to go to a specialist for something like that? See, the over-specialization is an issue within the healthcare industry too, because these these doctors have to go for 6 years of school to become a doctor, but then they've paid for 6 years of school to become a doctor. So the only way they can really make that money back, since there's not enough programs for them to like pay off their student loan that they've done, because now they've got 7 figures of student loan debt because they have a 4-year college degree plus an additional doctor's degree. So they go into specialists training and then get further training into being specialists because it doesn't pay enough to be a GP.
Right. And the GPs, you have to do another 4 years of rotation before they're even allowed to just be a GP.
Right. And so why are we training all these people to be specialists when the reality is everybody's got an entire system that works together? And we found out, like with your eye infection, that part of it was a symptom of your arthritis, your RA.
Yeah, because I have non-localized RA, meaning it's not just in my wrist, it's all over.
Okay, going through that with my current situation, it's been 7 to 8 months dealing with the same issue. Now I'm finally being suggested to have surgery, says Ashley.
Yeah.
Right. So I really can't help but think that a lot of this is because of the illness model of medicine in the United States. You and I talked about this once before, and I explained to you, I said, in other countries where herbal medicine is still practiced and honored, 80% of issues are dealt with herbal medicine first. I can list off 10 different plants that'll help control blood sugar. I can list off 20 different plants that help control blood pressure. And in other countries, that's what they would go to first. They'd go through this list, oh, you've got high blood pressure. Let's get you on some XYZ tea with this, 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 and this. Or your blood sugar is off. Let's get you on some of this, 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 and this. Let's use this and this and then that. And then if that doesn't work after a couple of years, or if it stops working as effectively, we'll kind of reevaluate how things are going and then see about a prescription medicine.
Very much so. And see, this is the other thing that occurs very commonly. is that doctors in themselves are before when was malpractice insurance enforced? 89?
89.
Yeah, it had to be 89. They would do those recommendations. It's
Mhm.
like why I smoke. Most people go, well, "What do you still smoke?" The reason I smoke is I have asthma.
Mm-hmm.
Up until 1943, if you had asthma, you were told to smoke. Also, if you had depression or battle fatigue, you were told to smoke.
Well, battle fatigue was another word for PTSD, because what it was doing, what in that case, um, the smoking becomes a focus, and as far as for asthma goes, the constant mild irritation from the smoke actually prevents asthma attacks.
Mm-hmm. The constant heat pushes the
Mhm.
airways open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're smoking, you're taking a deeper breath. You're taking, instead of breathing from this upper part of the lungs, you're breathing deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we've kind of wandered all over the place.
We have, but this is great. This is what I enjoy. And I hope everyone else is enjoying. We're not boring you with our conversation.
Well, we still have a whole handful of folks watching, so I guess we're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing fine. And you got to remember, this goes into a podcast, and we get broadcasted everywhere, including India. Hello, Indian watchers. Please stop killing your witches.
Right?
Hello, Russia. Please stop hacking our systems.
That or from now on, when the Russians hack the system, can they just send caviar? You know,
Especially since over there it's not even seen as a delicacy.
No, it's not. Mary's this great guest.
Yeah, she is. I love having Melissa over. I was so glad when we made contact again and got to actually spend some time together. Yeah, and she's doing a lot
Joe's
of.
over here quietly sitting, just like do.
Uh-huh. And I'm glad that, and she's doing something interesting with her life. She's making even more impact because she has gone off grid.
Yeah. That was a conscious decision we made with the help of the power company here in West Virginia, because
this crap, because our forefathers paid, and I can remember it was $10 a month for the expansion of the energy grid. I remember the electrical bills. I remember my grandmother going, I don't know how I'm going to pay this on 3 cents a word.
Right. No, they want a $10,000 deposit to bring the power from the closest point where our property is to where we were building our house, because it's like $1,000 per pole is what they charge.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we'd still have the monthly bill. And I was like, well, so you're telling me it's going to cost me at least $10,000 to bring power to my property. You're not going to do it knowing that I would then be paying a power bill. Okay. So go out and I price it out. And I've been off grid before, so this isn't like a major change for me. It had just been a decade or so that I hadn't had regular power at home. So I was very happy when I started looking up the prices and stuff, and we figured everything out, and it was like $6,000.
Yeah.
To put the house on solar.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all good.
Yeah. And, they're now doing this big push for broadband.
We've had our farm on the top of my mountain. It's my mountain, by the way. My mountain, nobody else's. We've had our farm this is going on to 7 years now. And in the 7 years that we've lived there, I've watched tree after tree after tree knock down the phone lines. And when I called the phone company, they're like, yeah, there's nobody up there with service anyhow.
Uh-huh.
So now you can literally drive up the road and you see power line going to power pole, or phone line going to that pole, and then it's down on the ground. Then the next pole's broken, and then the line's on the ground. And then the next pole's got power going to it, and then halfway in between it's on the around. So it's like, Shannon, you want to get solar panels? If you want to get solar panels, the company that I recommend going through is called Santan Solar. They're out of Arizona. It's an independent. They're an independent company. They're not beholden to a particular manufacturer. They also sell used panels. Really great guys. Talk with them. Santan Solar is the name of the company, and they're out of Arizona.
Yeah.
And you can
Because
get
I don't know, I keep getting mail and Facebook ads for the government will pay you to put solar on.
No, they won't. There's and the rebates that people used to get, where you put in solar and you get this rebate, and the power company would have to buy your extra power back. Yes, they're still required to buy it back, but they have made it now so that when they do buy it back, they're only paying a fraction of what you're generating.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of this whole complicated thing. So our system is completely independent, completely 100% self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving over to, there's a way that you can, all right, you're familiar with lithium ion batteries, right? So like in your cell phone and stuff, that's what you have. You have a lithium ion battery. Okay. So Tesla, Powerwall, and the other companies that are similar clones to Tesla system are essentially just a very large lithium ion battery. And you can take the same lithium ion batteries that are in, like, say, a 20-volt drill or whatever you want to think of, and you basically series tie them together, and for less than $1,000 build a power wall.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell Joe.
He'll hear it.
Well, I won't tell him.
Okay. Because I'm
He's
very
right behind me,
solar. I am very much into, let's put solar on the roof. That means I don't have to replace my roof.
Mm-hmm.
We can have this full solar system going on. I'll be happy. I'm happy to generate my own power, but this has always been my thing. We cannot go totally solar until we have totally reliable power sources. Of course, this month, I swear I'm living in a third world country.
Every time it's raining, you're losing power.
Yeah. Every time it's raining. Every time it's wrong. Every time it's upset. But yet they got a 38% increase.
Yeah.
To improve the grid.
Did you know they're also federally guaranteed a minimum rate of return on their investment into the grid?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. FERC, Federal Energy Regulators Committee. They're the same people that are trying to push through the pipeline.
Yeah.
I'll stop the first word of it.
Yes, thank you for doing that. I would like to not have to mark us explicit. But did you see Epcot? Now, if you lived in Texas, you know Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
And they're bull.
The one thing, I know everybody's complaining about Texas grid. I will say this, though. When we were in Texas, it was very nice to be able to sit here and literally shop for what power company I wanted to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And they bid on it. And we ended up going up with one that was renewable. It was like 50%. 50% renewable power. And they were actually comparable price-wise with all of these other energy companies, which is something that we don't get in other areas. Like, so the area that I'm in, it's Appalachian Power. Are you on Appalachian Power or Mon Power or whatever?
I'm in Appalachian Power. Mon Power is a whole different beast. Now, some of our viewers are on Mon Power.
But so here's the thing. That's what we get here. But in Texas now, if we were looking at power there, we could get Mon Power, you could get Appalachian Power, you could get Green Mountain Power, you could get so-and-so Power, Joe Blow, Penny Wright, whatever. There was all these other different companies. And you would literally be able to sit here and pick and choose what power company you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one good thing that the Texas grid does have going for it.
Right. I think it is the one good thing it has going for it. But looking at their infrastructure build, it's ridiculous. Like, granted, I'm losing power every 2 days. I cannot understand why you have so many energy companies there, and they had a blowout destructive thing in February. We are now in June. Their linemen, their power supply place, their plants, everything else should have been kicking ass, working double overtime, busting their ass.
Well, and they knew it was coming.
And they knew it was coming. It had been.
They knew it was coming. They had plenty of weather warning. I mean, plenty of weather warning. Ashley says, I can't stand that it's only one per area. The whole monopoly thing doesn't make sense to me with the utility companies. You're right. It is a monopoly, and it's a legal monopoly. And here's the thing. We pay for them to have the privilege of having a monopoly. So that's what we're getting with the power company. That's what you're getting with your phone company. That's what you get with your local cable internet company. They all have monopolies. They're regulated monopolies, but they're still a monopoly because there's nobody out there that can compete with them.
And we force that. We have pushed that with our dollar. We have pushed that, and I think it's time we start holding them accountable.
Well, exactly. Their feet need to be to the fire. You know, anything else if their customer service sucks, we just don't go back.
Right. Or if we don't like their labor practices, i.e. Walmart, they lost a lot of grocery sales up from me. They lost a lot of other sales from me. They are my last stop.
I wish we had a viable option still. I didn't mind using Magic Mart when they were still in business.
I liked Magic Mart. I enjoyed Hex. Like, I loved my receipt when it said Hex on it.
I don't know what that is. I've not been here long enough.
It was a Walmart-like one.
Grid is also in Canada. Remember the Northeast blackout of 2003. Yeah, well, anywhere where they have power companies and generating central. Now, the United States is set up in three separate power grids. There's East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, and West Coast. So three power grids plus Texas. So there's 4 total. So the continental U.S. Obviously, Hawaii and Alaska don't really fall into that. Right. But Hex.
Yeah.
I wasn't here in West Virginia.
Walmart. It was like a War Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a little bit of everything. Yeah, I've been in other states where they've got stores like that too that are local. From Wisconsin, we're talking like Menards and Fleet Farm. And Shopko, which you guys don't have down here.
No, but we'd like a Shopko.
Yeah,
of course, I really would love to have a Publix again.
Publix?
Yes, I miss that from North Carolina.
Yeah, that's a pretty good grocery store. And they've got, and then like down in Texas, they have HEB, which is like, I guess kind of the most closest comparable is, are you familiar with the Walmart grocery store model where it's more grocery store? It's like the Walmart neighborhood market, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It's more grocery store, less Walmart.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the options too.
And we're seeing that same model with Dollar General.
Yeah.
They are turning into a more grocery store. They just remodeled one here recently, and it's got more freezer sections than my local Kroger's.
Yeah, they're finding that by offering more options, they're able to grab that almighty dollar. And then, of course, the merger a couple years back of Family Dollar and Dollar Tree. So you have those two together again as a monopoly. But again, now most of those stores, that's all stuff from out of the states, though. Very, very little of that is produced stateside.
Now, this is farmer market season. Please go to your local farmer's market and do some grocery shopping.
Yes. Yes, please buy local. I mean, oh my goodness, I can tell you about a half a dozen different people that produce meat in our area and fruit and vegetables that just blow it out of the water.
Right. But also, it supports the local economy. It brings the money back locally. Because here's facts. You buy from a farmer. The farmer turns around and buys from a feed store that turns around and buys from a local grower.
Shannon, Shannon says they close before I wake up, or I would. LOL. You know what? If you call your local farmers market, every farmers market in the state of West Virginia, if it's an official state of West Virginia sanctioned farmers market where they take like wicked food stamps like that, they have to have someone who is their market manager. And you might want to call and see if they have a CSA box, or if you can get the phone numbers of the farmers that come to sell
Yeah.
at the market, and you can purchase directly from them. A lot of farmers are trying to set up CSA boxes.
Yep. And here's the other part with that. And I'm waiting for it to get here, but in California, they have farmers that group together and they sell a box. I guess that's the CSA box.
Yeah, that's a CSA. That's community.
You just prepay them.
Supported agriculture.
Yeah, you just pay them, and the box gets dropped off on your front porch.
Yeah, well, that's the same as like we talked about on our farm here. Of you know, we raise pig and then sell it live.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get it butchered the way that you want, kind of thing.
Right.
And except they throw vegetables and stuff into it. Now, I've tried to do vegetable marketing, and I guess I personally am too profit driven to farmers market vegetables. So we just grow for ourselves for vegetables and stuff.
Right. Well, you know, it's just how it is, honey. But yeah, check out your local supply chains, your local sources first.
Yep.
That's my main message for tonight: is find local, buy local, and I'm talking seriously, buy local. Like, don't go to the local store.
No, I'm talking like you drove by the. Did you drive by the sign over there that said fresh local eggs? You know, we have a lady that sells them by me for $1.50 a dozen. I can't even have the chickens and feed the chickens for that price.
Right.
So I don't know how she's making any money off of it, but she's got them, and that's what she's selling them for.
Yeah. Or, you know, I think fresh tomatoes, we see those coming up, fresh green pepper, you know, whatever. You know, these aren't little markets, but if you see the sign, stop and buy.
Or like my theory, which is eat the invasives. So like when the wine berries will start blooming, being ready to pick here in the next couple of weeks, usually right around 4th of July, wine berries come in. They're an invasive plant. So get out and pick them and eat them.
Yep. So Shannon, why aren't you buying eggs?
So Shannon, are you buying eggs from your friend?
Oh, come. No. Not my live stream. Bippity boppity boop. We do not support this bullshit. Block user and delete the comment.
There he is on another one.
Deleting comment.
Thank y'all.
All right. Oh, she shoves them in your trunk. How interesting.
In other words, she's stealth getting rid of the eggs. That's like what is that? Sneak a zucchini on your neighbor's porch night in September. It's an actual holiday.
And
So,
by the way, if you're going to sneak zucchini on my porch, I require 6 of them.
yeah, that's me. I never seem to plant enough. We never have enough. I know everybody's like, oh, zucchini. I'm like, no. I've planted 5 and still not had enough. I've planted 7 and still not had enough. Planted 10, still not had enough. Because everything extra I just feed to my goats.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's been a lovely evening. I want to give us a thank you to our baristas. You find the right banner. Thank you, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Jett, Sharon C., and Shannon D. If you would like to support the Psychic Coffee Shop and more conversations like this, please visit www.pcspnetwork.com. Also, please, everyone, send good energy to Kathy. She's not been in for a while, but she is going through some issues. All right. Thank you, Melissa, for coming on.
You're welcome.
And guys, I will see you Friday night on time, hopefully. And we will have another amazing conversation, but we'll have Techy Joe back in the seat. All right, y'all. Let's have a great evening. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
You can't tell me the deck is stacked. You can't whisper behind my back. You can't show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground.